Hello, I'm Sarah, and I've been working with HFACS this summer. And so a little bit about myself. I grew up in Virginia Beach. I'm currently a senior at Virginia Tech, and I should be graduating this upcoming May. And my major is applied computational math with a concentration and a minor in computer science. And so here's a little bit about myself. I went to Kennedy this summer, and this is my dad. He works in branch 209. And then these are my dogs because I love them. So that's Maggie, the big one, and Aoife's the small one. And so my mentors this summer, it's been a little confusing. So Robert Moreland is kind of my main mentor, I would say. He gives me my duties and tasks and things, and he's up at headquarters. And then Nipa, she's in branch 209, and that's the branch I would be in, but since my dad's there, I'm in branch D332, and so Natalia has been taking care of me while here, and then Lisa's like my adopted mentor who helps me. But this is a little overview of what I've done this summer, and so a lot of HFACS. I did a little bit of Power BI, and then I also helped a couple other people with their projects, and I'll go into that a little later. So a little bit about HFACS. It stands for Human Factors Analysis and Classification System. And so when you think of HFACS, I think of human error and how humans have contributed. And so this system is based off of James Reason and his Swiss cheese model. But Wegman and Chappell actually created it and used it for the US Navy. And it's used by a lot of different industries, not just NASA. So it's used by the FAA, FedEx, Walt Disney, used by different universities, by the DoD, and so the word NASA in front of it is just a different version of HFACS. And since NASA is special in the way that it deals with space in 3D, where you can go up and down, unlike people who kind of stay on ground level. So this is specific to NASA, and so this system is separated into 3 levels: code, subcode, which we call buckets, and nanocodes. And the 4 codes are kind of the levels of, I guess, how deep you can go into. So it starts at ACTS and works its way up. So it goes preconditions, then supervisional, and then organizational. And so this system is used to analyze mishaps that happen here at the agency. And so how they do that, there's actually a task force that Tracy and Nick, they are the heads of. And so what they do is they take about the 50 worst mishaps in NIMIS and they code them. And so that's based off of the type of mishap, which is based off of if there's injuries or how much this mishap costs. So it goes all the way from someone who slipped and got a concussion to aircrafts getting damaged and things like that. And so the process is they divide those 50 worst mishaps through the task force, and so people will code it individually, and then what they do is they have a face-to-face meeting where they all talk about the mishap that they coded and what nanocodes they used, and then they put it into this database. And so this is what that is. So they take the NIMIS ID and they summarize it, and then that window shows up, and then they just quickly put in the nanocodes that they all together collectively thought of for that mishap. And then where it gets into what I did was this top Excel sheet is what the database looked like before. And so as you can see in the bottom Excel sheet, I made it a little more organized. I was able to add metadata. So everything on the bottom Excel sheet was actually, it's all in NIMIS, so it's no new information, but I was just able to add it for people who do look at it to know more information. So I added the mishap type, the location, I separated the name of the mishap with its ID code and the description, along with other data cleanup, so making the formulas consistent and making the Excel sheet uniform. And then something else I did was, if you saw in the beginning the classification system or the flow chart, they actually have different versions of it, and so the database has all different versions as well. So there's a FY17 and FY18, and they actually use different versions. And so what I was able to do was trace through the differences through version 1 and version 1.3. There's also a version 1.2, but I didn't find it necessary to go through that. And so I was able to find the differences in them, so that way when they go back and look at FY17 and 18 or analyze that data, they can see the differences, because some of the nanocodes, they don't necessarily always just add it to the bottom, like what the next number would be. Sometimes they added it randomly in the middle, or they took away different nanocodes, and so this is just to keep track, because if you want to analyze 17 and 18, but nanocode OC001 is different for each version, then there's complications, and so this just keeps it easy to understand. And then something else with Rob's project that he's doing is he's trying to mash the safety culture survey data with the NIMS HFACS data. And so this is kind of an overview of what this survey looked like. And so there's 22 questions. Most of them are radio button, so it's on a scale from 1 to 6. And so I was actually able to get that data, but I also was able to find relationships between this survey and the HFACS. And so, for example, number 1, it says, please rate your immediate work area with respect to its reporting culture. And so I related that to nanocode OC001, which is culture at an organizational level. And so if we see that this question has really low scores, then we can predict that the codes with the FY 17, 18, or whatever year, depending on the survey, that, okay, this nanocode should show up because this is how they correlate. And so just trying to find correlations as he mashes this. And then one of my favorite parts that I did this summer was learning Power BI. And so it's actually a Microsoft software. And so it allows you to visualize your data very easily. And so it takes in any form. So I used Excel sheets, but it takes in CSV files, Access files, whatever your data file is in. So it's really versatile. And so the 2 smaller pictures are of the safety culture survey data. And then I also made my own data set, which is kind of how I got a little bit involved with Katie and Lisa's work. I asked on my social media people's Myers-Briggs and their major and their where they live, where they went to school, and things like that. And so I made the 2 bigger data sets. And so what's cool about Power BI is you can do real-time parsing. So as you can see in this upper picture, Virginia Tech is checked. And so all the data is just for Virginia Tech. And so if I wanted to, I could parse it with just UVAs. And so then you can see the correlation between Virginia Tech and what people's personality is or what their majors are. And so it's really cool and powerful. And so I helped a little bit with Rob, but they also have a contractor who specializes in data analytics and Power BI. And so I got to even learn from him kind of the do's and don'ts of data analysis or visualizations. And then also a really fun part was I got to travel to Kennedy. So here are just a couple pictures, but I got to travel to Kennedy for a NASA HFACS training and certification. And so I was actually able to get a certificate of completion, and I have another one that says certified, blah, 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 which was really cool opportunity just to travel, meet new people, and even just learn. What they taught was how the classification system works. And so they gave us case studies and different things of, okay, for this, how would you code it and what codes would you use? And it was a very in-depth of the actual system itself. And then that's all that I did for Rob. And so for Nipa, what I did was she's working on an Excel add-in. And so what it does is it searches through the lessons learned database, and it searches through the lessons learned database based on your specific project that you're doing. And so it gives you 10 related lessons learned to the given project. And so what I did was she put it in this Excel sheet, and then there's 2 forms of this add-in. So the baseline was the original, and then there's a best 81, which is, so it's like machine learning, so that's the second version after it learned things. And so what I did was I read the 10 predictions for each of the versions. So in total I read 20 for each I guess, given project. There were 11 given projects. I didn't finish this Excel sheet because that's insane. But what I did was I determined if this lesson learned was related to the given project or not. And so green means it's related, red means it's not. And so this just helps her so she doesn't have to do as much of the tedious work of reading it. And then lastly, I helped Katie with her project, and obviously I'll let her explain her project, but the biggest goal was to understand human and autonomous machine interaction. So I just helped her in little ways. I was her little intern almost. Calculated maze complexity and ran test runs and helped with when they actually did the actual testing of participants. So I was able to help her with that. And so for after this, my future, finishing college, obviously, and then I have a lot of options for what I want to do after school. I feel like I have, because my major is in math, but I got really good experience in human factors or even data analysis and things like that. And so kind of just discovering what works best for me or what I want to do after college. But a couple of thank yous. I wanted to say thank you to the branch heads, Eric and Keith, for helping me when I didn't have a laptop and when I wanted to travel. I wanted to thank all of my mentors, Robert, Nipa, Natalia, and Lisa, for all the help that they've done. For my co-interns, Katie, Payton, and then Jamie and Chase, who have left, but who have given me their love and admiration and kept me company. I also wanted to thank Nicole and Carol for the help that they've done in my travel and my laptop situation from the beginning of my internship, for USRA, and for them allowing me to travel to Kennedy in the first place. And then also all three of the coordinators, Christine, Valerie, and Patricia, for all the work that they've done helping make the NASA internships awesome. So, yeah. Have any questions? I did. One thing I learned was we got a lot of ENFPs, but part of me wonders if that's because of the way that I approached asking people for their Myers-Briggs. It was over social media, so I thought that was a cool thing to know. I originally...
Does that mean like only the extroverts would actually share their Myers-Briggs with
I
you?
guess so, or maybe they're more like outgoing or feel, oh, let me contribute, as per other people maybe like, oh, I don't think it really matters, like I don't understand why I would do this. Like I was surprised, I got almost 100 people to tell me their Myers-Briggs, which was, I thought, a good amount of people I reached, so thank you.